We've all been there, right? You open up TikTok just for a minute, and then you look up and an hour has just vanished. But what if it's doing more than just eating up our time? There's this growing worry that that it's actually reshaping our brains. So today, we're going to dig into that idea.
So, what's the real story here? Is it all just harmless fun? Or is there something, deeper going on inside our heads? To figure that out, we can't just go on gut feelings. We've got to look at the actual science of how a platform like this could be rewiring the very way we think.
For years, the whole debate has been about screen time, right? Just how many hours we're glued to our phones. But what if we've been asking the wrong question all along? The real problem might not be how long we scroll, but the structure of what we're actually looking at. That endless, choppy, fragmented feed, that's where the story really is. Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start by looking beyond screen time. Then we'll introduce a new way to see this whole thing. We'll get into how to actually measure the feed and then talk about algorithms and altered brains. After that, we'll explore designing for coherence and finally bring it all home with from fragments to wholes. All right, first up, beyond screen time. Let's really get into why just counting the minutes and hours we're online, well, it just doesn't cut it. See, to really get what TikTok is doing, you can't just see it as a stream of videos. It's more like a complex system. It's this whole bundle of very specific things, the super fast timing of the clips, the way everything is framed visually, and of course, the constant little rewards it doles out to your brain. It's a carefully designed package. So if it's this complex package, how do scientists even start to analyze it? Well, they're proposing a whole new framework, a new way to see the problem. It's called neurogestalt analysis, or NGA. Now, that sounds complicated, but the key word is Gestalt. It's a German word that basically means a unified whole. So think of it this way. NGA is all about measuring how our brain takes this chaotic mess of sensory input and tries to build a stable whole picture out of it. Does it succeed, or does it just end up with a pile of disconnected pieces? And this, right here, is why NGA is so important. It lets researchers take that vague, abstract feeling of, oh no, TikTok is bad for us, and turn it into something concrete, something you can actually test in a lab. It moves us from just worrying to actually measuring. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work? How do you measure what the feed is doing to our brains? Well, it's a three-layered approach. It's pretty comprehensive. First, they scan the brain itself, using things like fMRI and EEG. Second, they track the body's physical reactions. We're talking eye tracking, heart rate, that kind of thing. And third, they actually talk to people, mapping out their subjective experience through interviews. Brain, body, and experience, all at once. Okay, this is the core of the experiment, and it is a really clever setup. Imagine this. They take one piece of content, say a story, and they show it to people in two different ways. One group watches it as a continuous, normal video with a clear beginning and end. The other group sees the exact same story, but it's been chopped up into tiny 10-second TikTok-style clips. By comparing the brain scans of these two groups, they can isolate the specific effect of the structure of the feed itself. It's brilliant. So what are they actually looking for in those brain scans? Well, it boils down to three key things. First, are our brain's temporal windows getting shorter? That's basically our ability to hold a thought or a piece of information over time. Second, is the communication between the fast, sensory parts of our brain and the slow, deep thinking parts getting flatter or weaker? And third, are people's brains reacting in less similar ways? That could mean we're all having these very isolated, individual experiences instead of a shared. Right, so it's not just about the short clips themselves. We have to zoom out and look at the whole system, especially the algorithm that's feeding them to us, and the unique risks this poses for brains that are still developing.
Regulators have a term for some of this stuff. Dark patterns, and you've definitely seen them. It's things like autoplay being on by default. It's how it's incredibly easy to sign up for something, but an absolute nightmare to cancel it. Or how the app creates this false sense of urgency, nudging you to share more and more about yourself. And let's be clear, these aren't bugs. They are features, very deliberately designed.
Now, this gets especially serious when we talk about kids and teenagers. Think about it. A young person's brain is busy building these long-range connections, these sort of neural highways that are crucial for deep focus and complex thought. But the platform is built to do the opposite. It's optimized to exploit the short, already existing pathways for quick, easy rewards. That's a huge developmental mismatch, right? The brain is trying to build a superhighway, and the app is just paving over the local side streets again and again. Okay, so that's the problem laid out. The big question now is, what do we do about it? Can we actually design for something better? Something more coherent? There's a quote from the source research that just explains this perfectly. It says, "The fast end of the cortical hierarchy is kept constantly busy, while the slow end is left understimulated, like a muscle that never reaches full engagement." I mean, what a great analogy. The feed is constantly working out the fast, twitchy, reactive parts of our brain, while the parts responsible for deep thinking and making connections are just sitting there understimulated. It's like only ever doing bicep curls and never training the rest of your body. And look, the solution here isn't to just ban all short videos. That's not realistic. The idea is to reintroduce a full spectrum of timing. It's about balance. We need to intentionally design digital spaces that also have slower content, things with clear beginnings and endings, to give our brains a chance to actually catch up, process, and make sense of it all. This really forces you to rethink things we just accept as normal. All those little UX choices, autoplay, the infinite scroll, the constant notifications, they aren't neutral design features. They are active interventions. They're choices that literally interfere with our brain's fundamental ability to form a coherent story out of our experiences. Okay, let's pull all these threads together now and talk about how we might move from a world of fragments to a world of wholes. There's this really interesting concept from psychoanalysis called corpse marcelé. It translates to the fragmented body, and it's meant to describe this feeling of being pulled into a bunch of disconnected pieces. And when you stop and think about it, isn't that the perfect description of scrolling through the feed? You get clips with no context, body parts without a person, symptoms without a history. It's the definition of fragmentation. And that really gets to the heart of the challenge here. The tech itself, the fast editing, the smart algorithms, it's not inherently evil. The real task, as the research puts it, is to realign these means with the brain's need. We need to move from just throwing isolated sensations of people to creating what they call an inhabitable scene, a digital space that actually makes sense, a place you can feel present in. So, this is the question we want to leave you with. It's a challenge for everyone, really, from the people who design these platforms all the way to us, the users. How do we start building a digital world that goes beyond just stimulation? A world where it's possible to feel not just constantly engaged, but gathered, whole, coherent. How do we do that?